Hello there. Tonight, our journey takes us to a place often romanticized in stories, the bustling, chaotic, and supposedly merry world of medieval London. But we will not be visiting the courts of kings or the halls of noble knights. We are going to walk the muddy, treacherous lanes of the city's underbelly to uncover the truth about a life that was not only difficult, but systematically marginalized, controlled, and exploited. We are going to explore the truth about being a prostitute in the late 14th century. The story you might imagine, one of glamorous courtesans or bawdy independent wenches, is a fiction. The reality was a life lived on a knife's edge, a world of poverty, disease, and violence, governed by a breathtaking hypocrisy that condemned the very trade from which it profited. Before we step into this world, I want to thank you for being here. Your presence, your quiet listening, makes this journey possible. If you appreciate these explorations, a simple like or subscribe means the world. And as we always do, I invite you to share where you are in the world tonight. In the comments, leave your city and your time. It's a quiet comfort to know that as we delve into this difficult past, we are connected in the present. Now let the world around you grow quiet. Find that place of comfort and stillness. This is not a story of grand events, but of quiet endurance. Let your breath be slow and even, and let us travel back together to bear witness to a life rarely seen and a truth rarely told. The first thing you are aware of is the cold. Not the sharp, clean cold of an open field in winter, but a damp, seeping chill that seems to rise from the very earth beneath you. It works its way through the thin straw of your pallet and the rough, scratchy wool of your blanket, settling deep into your bones. It is a familiar ache, the constant companion of every morning. You open your eyes. The world is a dim, grey rectangle of faint light coming from a single unglazed window slit high in the wall. You are not alone. In the small, cramped room, you can hear the soft breathing and occasional rustle of two other women sleeping on similar pallets nearby. There is no privacy here. Privacy is a form of wealth, and you have none. The air is thick and stale, smelling of old sweat, spilled ale, and the ever-present dampness of a timber frame house built on London's marshy ground. You sit up, your body protesting. It is not the healthy soreness of a good day's labour. It is a dull, bruised exhaustion, a weariness that sleep has not erased, but merely put on pause. You are young. Perhaps 17, perhaps 19, you are not entirely sure, but your body feels old. It is not your own. It is a tool of your trade, a vessel to be used, and it carries the invisible toll of last night's work. You swing your legs onto the rough, splintered floorboards. Your shift is a simple garment of coarse linsey woolsey, patched in several places. It is your only undergarment and your nightgown. Beside your pallet is your dress, and most importantly, the symbol of your life, the mark of your profession. It is a hood, striped with two different colours of cheap, faded wool. You are legally required to wear this. By order of the city alderman, every common woman must be distinguished from the honest women of London. This hood is your brand. It is a warning to the wives and daughters of respectable citizens, and an advertisement to the men who seek your company. It is a public declaration of your shame, and the only license you have to earn your bread. To be caught without it is to risk a flogging or a day in the pillory, where the righteous citizens can hurl not just insults, but stones and filth. You dress silently, your movements practiced and economical. You pour a little water from a clay pitcher into a wooden bowl. The water is cold and has a faint metallic taste. You splash it on your face, a small, shocking ritual that serves to wake you fully. There is no soap. Soap is a luxury. Downstairs, the main room of the stew, the common term for a brothel, is already stirring. The mistress of the house, a woman you call Maud, is stoking the embers of the hearth fire. She is a hard woman in her 40s, her face a mask of shrewd calculation. She was once a woman like you, but she survived. She survived by becoming a keeper of the cage, rather than one of the birds within it. She looks you over, her eyes missing nothing. She is not looking at your health or your well-being. She is assessing her property. Are you clean enough? Are you free of any obvious sores or bruises that might put off a client? Are you fit to work again tonight? Her gaze is that of a farmer inspecting his livestock. The priest from St. Saviour's was asking for you last night, she says, her voice rough. Said you missed confession. She spits into the fire. Told him you were praying in your room. See that you go today. It's bad for business to have the clergy angry. The hypocrisy is so profound, it is simply part of the air you breathe. The church condemns your sin with fire and brimstone. Yet it is the Bishop of Winchester himself who is the ultimate landlord of this entire district of Southwark. You and the other women in the stews are known, with a bitter irony, as the Winchester geese. The bishop grows rich on the rents from these houses of sin, while his priests preach damnation to the very women whose work pays for their vestments. Maud holds out her hand. Your earnings. You reach into a small leather pouch and hand her the coins from the previous night. A few pennies, hard-earned and quickly gone. She counts them, her lips moving silently. She keeps the lion's share. She provides the roof, the meager food, the protection from the most aggressive city watchmen, and the bribes to the right officials. You get what is left over, enough to perhaps buy a bit of ribbon or a meat pie from a street vendor if you are lucky. You are not saving for a different life. You are simply trying to survive this one. Breakfast is a piece of hard, dark bread and a mug of small ale. A watery, low-alcohol brew that is safer to drink than the foul water from the nearby wells. You eat it standing by the hearth, trying to absorb some of the fire's meager warmth. You are always hungry. It is a constant dull ache that has been with you since you arrived in this city. A runaway from a life of rural servitude that was, in its own way, just as brutal. After you eat, you put on your striped hood. The moment the fabric touches your head, your status changes. You are no longer just a young woman named, well, whatever your name once was. You are now a public woman, a strumpet, a stew holder. You step outside. The street is a river of mud, refuse and humanity. Southwark, on the south bank of the Thames, is a liberty, a district outside the formal jurisdiction of the City of London across the river. It is a place of taverns, bear-baiting pits, theatres and the stews. It is London's playground and its sewer, a place where respectable men can come to shed their piety for a few hours before crossing London Bridge back to their respectable lives. As you walk, you are acutely aware of the gazes. The men, merchants, apprentices, boatmen. Their eyes linger on you, a mixture of casual lust and contempt. They see not a person, but a commodity, an object for potential use. The women, the wives of shopkeepers, the servants on their morning errands. They pull their own hoods tighter and cross to the other side of the street. Their stares are the most painful. They are a mixture of fear and pure, unadulterated scorn. You are a threat to their world, a living symbol of female ruin. You are the cautionary tale they tell their daughters. Your destination is the public water conduit, where you must wait your turn to fill your pitcher with cleaner water from the country. From here, you can see the city across the river, the forest of church spires, the imposing mass of the Tower of London, and the great, crowded London Bridge, the only bridge connecting your world to theirs. It feels like another country. The day stretches before you, a vast expanse of empty time. This is a part of the life that the stories never tell. The boredom, the endless mind-numbing waiting. You are nocturnal. Your work begins when the sun goes down, when the taverns fill up, when the respectable world goes to sleep and the world of appetites awakens. The daylight hours are for sleeping, for mending your single dress, for the mandatory trip to confession to wash the stain of your work from your soul, only to acquire it again a few hours later. You see a group of other geese gathered near a tavern door, sharing a bit of gossip. You do not join them. Alliances in this world are fragile. The other women are your colleagues, your sisters in misery, but they are also your competition. A younger, prettier face can mean fewer clients for you. A rumor, a lie whispered in a client's ear, can ruin your already precarious position. There is a kind of camaraderie, but it is thin, stretched over a deep well of professional rivalry and mutual desperation. You decide to walk to the Clink, the prison run by the Bishop of Winchester, not to go in but to watch. It is a grim form of entertainment, a reminder of what happens to those who break the rules. You see a woman being led out to the stocks, her crime chalked on a board around her neck, for charging more than the set rate. The regulations are brutally specific. A woman is permitted to charge a certain amount for her services. To charge more is to be punished. To charge less is to undercut the other houses and risk Maud's wrath. Your very body is subject to price controls. Later, as commanded, you go to the church. You kneel in the cold, incense-scented darkness. The priest, a shadowy figure on the other side of the confessional screen. You murmur the required sins, the sins of the flesh, using the vague, coded language that both you and he understand. He lectures you on damnation, on the fires of hell that await you if you do not repent. His voice is deep and resonant with holy authority. You know that this same priest was seen leaving a tavern last week, his arm around a young boy. The hypocrisy is a physical weight, pressing down on you. He grants you absolution, assigns you a penance of a dozen prayers, and sends you on your way. your soul theoretically wiped clean for a few precious hours. You return to the stew as evening begins to fall. The atmosphere has changed. The daytime torpor is gone, replaced by a nervous energy. Maud is lighting the oil lamps. The other women are painting their faces with crude cosmetics, a whitening of the skin with lead-based powder, a reddening of the lips and cheeks with a mixture of wine dregs and cochineal. They are preparing their masks for the night's performance. You do the same, looking at your reflection in a small polished piece of metal. The face that looks back at you is a stranger, a pale painted doll with dark, empty eyes. This is not you. This is the creature who will earn the pennies tonight. The first clients begin to arrive. They are mostly apprentices and journeymen from the city, their pockets light, their desires simple and brutish. They are loud, drunk and rough. Maud directs the traffic, haggling over prices, her voice sharp and commercial. A man chooses you. He is a weaver's apprentice, his hands stained with dye, his breath sour with ale. He does not speak to you. He does not ask your name. He shoves a penny into your hand, and you lead him up the narrow, creaking stairs to the small room where your pallet lies. The transaction is quick, clumsy, and mechanical. It is an act utterly devoid of pleasure, a grim and silent piece of labor. You feel nothing but the cold draft from the window and the dull ache in your back. When it is over, he leaves without a word. You lie on the scratchy straw for a moment, staring up at the water-stained ceiling. This is your reality. This is your truth. It is not a story of passion or romance. It is a story of cold pennies, of aching backs, of an endless, grinding cycle of poverty and necessity. And the night has only just begun. The striped hood lies on the floor beside you, waiting to be worn again, and again, and again. The weaver's apprentice is followed by a boatman, his hands as rough as sandpaper, his body smelling of the river's foul water and fish. Then a tanner, whose skin seems permanently imbued with the acrid, chemical stench of the curing process. A smell that will linger in your small room long after he is gone. Each encounter is a repetition of the first, a transaction of grim necessity, an exchange of a few moments of your body for a coin that is not even truly yours. You are an actress, playing a part you have long since perfected. You feign a coarse, bawdy humor that the men expect. You laugh at their crude jokes. You affect a sigh of pleasure when there is only a dull, aching emptiness. You have learned that the performance is as important as the act itself. A convincing performance can mean a slightly less brutish encounter, perhaps even an extra half penny if the man is particularly drunk or foolish. A sullen or unresponsive demeanor can earn you a cuff on the ear or a complaint to Maud, which will have far worse consequences. So you perform. You are the merry strumpet, the willing sinner, the fantasy they have paid for. Inside, you retreat to a small, cold, quiet place in your mind, a fortress you have built to keep your true self safe. You observe your own body's movements as if from a great distance. Later in the evening, the character of the clientele changes. The apprentices and laborers, their meager funds exhausted, stumble back across the bridge to their dormitories. They are replaced by men of a higher station, merchants, lawyers' clerks, and sometimes, if they are feeling particularly adventurous, a minor knight or a wealthy landowner from the country. These men are different. They are often older, softer, their bodies unaccustomed to hard labor. They bring with them the scent of better food, of spiced wine, of wool that has been properly cleaned. They are also more dangerous. Their desires are often more complex, their cruelty more refined. A man is brought to you by Maud herself, a sign of his importance. He is a wool merchant, his tunic made of fine, dark cloth, a heavy silver ring on his finger. He is not drunk, but his eyes hold a cold, appraising quality that is more unsettling than any drunken lust. He dismisses Maud with a wave of his hand and looks at you, not as a person, but as a piece of merchandise he is considering purchasing. "Take off the hood," he says, his voice quiet but accustomed to being obeyed. You untie the strings and remove the striped symbol of your trade. He wants the illusion of an honest woman, a secret dalliance. This is a common request among the wealthier clients. They want to purchase not just the act, but a fantasy of transgression. He does not touch you immediately. He asks you to pour him a cup of wine from a pitcher he has brought with him. A sweet, spiced hippocras that costs more than you earn in a week. He asks you your name. You give him the name you use here, Eleanor, a common simple name that is not your own. Your real name is buried deep inside you, a precious, secret thing you will not share with anyone in this life. He begins to talk. He complains about his wife, her piety, her coldness. He complains about the price of wool from Flanders, about the greed of the king's tax collectors. You are not just a body to him, you are a confessor, a silent, paid receptacle for his frustrations and his self-pity. You have learned this role as well. You nod, you murmur sympathetic phrases, your face a mask of attentive concern. You are the woman who understands, the woman who does not judge. It is a performance far more exhausting than the physical act that will follow. He wants you to pretend to be someone else. A baker's wife he saw once at the market. He describes her in detail. He wants you to adopt her mannerisms, to use phrases he imagines she would use. You are no longer just an actress. You are a shapeshifter, contorting your very being to fit the mold of his desire. The violation is deeper now, a trespass not just on your body, but on your mind, your identity. When he is finally finished, he leaves 2 silver pennies on the table, a generous sum. But as he leaves, he gives you a final cold look. Remember, Eleanor, he says, this conversation never happened. You are a common stew girl, nothing more. He has paid for his fantasy, and now he is locking it back in its box, reasserting the vast, unbridgeable gulf between his world and yours. You are left alone for a moment, the scent of his expensive wine still hanging in the air. The 2 silver coins on the table seem to mock you. They are the price of your performance, the cost of your soul's rental. Not all encounters are so psychologically complex. Some are simply brutal. Later that night, a group of soldiers, their pay fresh in their pockets from a campaign in France, storm into the stew. They are young, drunk, and filled with a violent energy that has been honed in battle and now has no outlet but the taverns and brothels of Southwark. They do not choose, they grab. A man with a jagged scar across his face seizes you, his grip like iron on your arm. He drags you towards the stairs, laughing as you stumble. Maud tries to intervene, not out of concern for you, but because they have not paid. The soldier's companion shoves her aside, and she falls against a table, her face hardening with fury. She will get her payment later, either from them or from your share. The soldier is not interested in conversation or fantasy. He is interested only in a fast, violent release. He tears your dress. He is rough, careless of your pain, his mind still on a battlefield far away. In these moments, your mental fortress is your only defense. You retreat deep inside to that quiet, cold place, and you wait for it to be over. You feel the bruises forming, the dull, aching protest of your body. These are the hidden costs of your trade, the injuries you must conceal from Maud's inspecting eye on the morrow. But sometimes, very rarely, something different happens. A flicker of something that resembles human connection. So unexpected that it is almost painful. He is a scholar from Oxford, his hands soft and ink-stained, his eyes holding a deep, weary sadness. He is young, perhaps only a few years older than you. He pays Maud, but when he comes to your room, he does not touch you. He simply sits on the edge of your pallet and looks at you, his gaze free of the usual mixture of lust and contempt. "May I just talk?" he asks, his voice soft. You are wary. This is often the prelude to a strange or perverse request, but you nod. He speaks of his life at the university, of the cold stone walls and the endless dry theological debates. He speaks of a woman he loved, a merchant's daughter from his hometown, whom he was forbidden to marry because he had taken minor holy orders to pursue his studies. He speaks of loneliness, a concept so alien to your crowded public life, yet one you understand on a deeper level. He is not complaining like the wool merchant. He is simply unburdening himself. He speaks to you as if you are a person, an equal. He asks you questions, not about your work, but about you. Where are you from? What was your village like? You find yourself answering. The words are hesitant at first, rusty from disuse. You tell him of the fields, of the smell of rain on dry earth, of a life that now seems like a half-forgotten dream. You do not tell him your real name, but you tell him a piece of your real story. For a few precious minutes, you are not Eleanor the strumpet. You are the girl from the countryside, the girl who once had a different future. He does not try to touch you. When his allotted time is up, he stands to leave. He places a few pennies on the table, the standard fee. Then he hesitates. He reaches into his own pouch and pulls out a small object. He presses it into your hand. It is a small carved wooden bird, no bigger than your thumb. It is simple, but beautifully made. I made it myself, he says quietly. It's not much, but thank you. He leaves. You are left staring at the small bird in your palm. It is a useless object. It cannot be eaten. It cannot be sold. It has no value in this world. And yet, it is the most precious thing you own. It is a symbol of a moment of genuine, unbought connection. A moment where you are seen not as a body, but as a person. You hide the bird away, tucking it into a loose floorboard beneath your pallet. It is your secret, a tiny, fragile piece of beauty in a world of relentless ugliness. The night wears on. The city's bells toll the hours, marking the slow march towards dawn. The flow of clients dwindles. The last of the drunks have been ejected, the last of the pennies counted. The fire in the hearth downstairs dies down to embers. You lie on your pallet, every muscle aching, the smells of a dozen different men still clinging to your skin. You are a vessel, emptied and filled and emptied again. You feel a profound and soul-crushing exhaustion that goes far beyond the physical. It is an exhaustion of the spirit. You think of the different men, the brutish soldier, the self-pitying merchant, and the sad, gentle scholar. They are all part of the same system. They are all consumers of your flesh, your time, your performance. But the scholar's small act of kindness, his simple recognition of your humanity, has left a crack in your armor. It has reminded you of the person you keep locked away inside. And that reminder is a dangerous, painful thing. It is easier to survive when you feel nothing. To feel something, even something as small as gratitude for a carved bird, is to remember what you have lost. Just before you drift into a shallow, restless sleep, you hear a commotion from downstairs. Shouting, a woman's scream, sharp and terrified. You sit bolt upright, your heart pounding. It is the voice of one of the other women, a girl named Agnes. You creep to the door and listen. You hear Maud's voice, sharp and angry, and you hear the voice of a man, slurred with drink, but laced with a chilling menace. He is a client who refuses to leave, who believes his penny has bought him the right to do whatever he pleases. You hear the sound of a blow and another scream from Agnes, this one choked with pain. This is the ever-present reality of your life. The violence is not an occasional risk. It is a constant, simmering threat that can erupt at any moment. The stew is a business, but it is a business conducted on the very edge of violence. And sometimes the violence spills over. You huddle in your room, listening, praying that the man will leave, that Maud can handle it. You are not a soldier. You are not a guard. You are a commodity, and your only defense is to be invisible, to be quiet, to not draw the violence to your own door. In the brutal calculus of the stew, another woman's suffering is preferable to your own. This is the final, most bitter truth of your existence. To survive, you must not only endure your own misery, but you must also become a silent, passive accomplice to the misery of others. The sisterhood of the Winchester geese is a fragile thing, easily broken by the simple, brutal instinct of self-preservation. And that, you think, as the sounds of violence finally fade downstairs, is the deepest shame of all. The morning that follows the night of violence is grey and subdued. The violent client was eventually ejected by Maud and a couple of hired thugs she keeps on retainer for such occasions. But the event has left a poisonous residue in the air. Agnes, the girl who was beaten, does not come down from her room. You hear her weeping softly, a sound that is quickly and angrily shushed by Maud. A girl who is too bruised to work is a drain on resources, and Maud's sympathy has a very short lifespan. The other women move about their morning tasks with a quiet, inward-looking caution. Their eyes are wary. Last night's violence is a stark reminder of their own vulnerability. Each of them knows it could have been her. The thin veil of order and protection that Maud provides has been torn, revealing the brutal reality that is always just beneath the surface. There is a shared glance between you and another woman, Elena, a woman from Italy who has been here for years. It is a look of shared fear and grim understanding. No words are needed. This unspoken bond, this fragile solidarity forged in shared misery, is one of the few things that makes this life bearable. Later in the day, when Maud is out buying supplies, you and Elena sneak upstairs to Agnes's room. You bring her a small piece of bread you saved from your own meagre breakfast and a cup of watered wine. Agnes is huddled on her pallet, one side of her face a swollen purple mess. She flinches when you enter, her eyes wide with fear before she recognizes you. She tries to smile, but the movement pulls at her bruised skin, and she winces in pain. You sit with her. You don't say much. You simply sit. Elena, who knows something of herbs, gently dabs at a cut on Agnes's lip with a cloth soaked in a cool chamomile infusion. It is a small gesture of care in a world that is defined by carelessness. You share the bread with her. In this house, sharing food is an act of profound generosity. Agnes begins to speak, her voice a hoarse whisper. She talks not of the beating, but of her home, a small fishing village on the coast. She talks of the smell of the sea and the sound of gulls. She speaks of the brother she left behind. It is the same ritual you shared with the scholar, the telling of a past life to prove to oneself that one existed before this. You listen and you understand. You are her confessor now. This is the hidden life of the stew. The moments of quiet support, the smuggled scraps of food, the shared stories whispered in darkened rooms when the mistress is away. These are the threads that hold the tattered fabric of your humanity together. Without them, you would all unravel. But these moments are fleeting, and the dangers of your life are constant and varied. The most immediate threat after violence is disease. The maladies of the flesh are a constant shadow hanging over the house. Maud inspects the women regularly, her sharp eyes searching for the first signs of the pox, the sores, the rashes, the telltale signs of the sicknesses that are passed from body to body in the night. A woman who falls ill is a catastrophe, not just for her, but for the entire house. She is immediately isolated. If the sickness is minor, she might be allowed to recover, locked away in a small attic room, fed scraps if Maud is feeling generous. But if it is a serious venereal ailment, her fate is grim. She will be cast out, turned out of the stew with nothing but the clothes on her back. Her striped hood, her license to trade, is taken from her. She can no longer work legally in the bankside stews. Her name is reported to the keepers of the other houses. She is blacklisted, ruined. Her options then are few, and all of them are terrible. She can try to work illegally in the dark alleys and back lanes of the city proper, a far more dangerous existence where she has no protection from a mistress, however cruel. Here, she is at the mercy of violent gangs, corrupt watchmen who will demand her services for free, and clients who are even more brutish than the ones in Suffolk. Or, if she is too sick to work, she can beg. She can join the teeming, wretched masses of the diseased and destitute who line the city streets, their bodies decaying before the eyes of the horrified and pious citizens who hurry past, clutching their purses and their crucifixes. Her final destination is often a lazar house, a leper hospital on the outskirts of the city. These are not places of healing. They are holding pens for the dying. Here she would be left to rot, her illness consuming her, far from the eyes of respectable society. Her death would be lonely, anonymous, and agonizing. Every woman in the stew knows this. Every itch, every unusual spot, every unexplained ache is met with a surge of cold, private terror. You have all learned to be amateur physicians, to recognize the early signs of disease in each other and in yourselves. You trade knowledge of herbal remedies, poultices of comfrey for bruises, infusions of yarrow to staunch bleeding, washes of plantain for skin ailments. These are the folk medicines of the poor, small, desperate spells cast against a tide of sickness that feels inevitable. One afternoon, you notice that Elena, your Italian friend, has been quiet for days. She moves slowly, as if her bones are filled with lead. She has a faint pinkish rash on her arms, which she tries to hide under her sleeves. You see her looking at her own reflection in a piece of polished metal, her face a mask of cold, hard fear. You know, she knows you know. Nothing is said. To speak of it would be to make it real, to give it a name. To name it would be to force Maud's hand. So a silent, desperate conspiracy begins. You and the other women cover for her. You do some of her chores. You try to pass her off as merely tired or melancholic. You share with her a precious piece of garlic, a powerful folk remedy believed to ward off plague and sickness. It is a hopeless, beautiful, and terrifying act of collective denial. You are all clinging to the hope that it is just a passing ailment, a simple skin complaint. You are all complicit in hiding a potential plague carrier, because to expose her is to condemn her to a fate you would not wish on your worst enemy. It is an act of love and an act of profound shared risk. For a few days, the fragile sisterhood of the stew holds firm against the encroaching shadow of disease. You are all in this together, bound by a secret that could destroy you all. Beyond the venereal plagues, there is the ever-present fear of the great pestilence, the Black Death. It has not returned in its full, world-shattering fury for many years, but the memory of it is woven into the fabric of the city. Everyone over the age of 30 remembers the horror. The carts piled high with the dead, the red crosses painted on the doors of the doomed. The plague is a sleeping dragon, and everyone fears its reawakening. A sudden fever, a swollen lymph node in the armpit or groin. These are not just symptoms of a minor illness. They are a potential death sentence, not just for the individual, but for the entire house, the entire street, the entire city. Your own body, this tool of your trade, becomes a source of constant anxiety. You are hyper-aware of its every function, its every new ache and pain. You are a sailor on a rotting ship, constantly checking for new leaks, new cracks, knowing that one day the sea will inevitably pour in. This constant, low-level terror, combined with the physical and psychological toll of the work, drives many women to seek solace in cheap gin or ale. Getting drunk is one of the few escapes available, a temporary numbing of the fear and the shame. But it is a dangerous escape. A woman who is too drunk cannot perform her duties well. She is vulnerable to being robbed by a client or beaten for being unresponsive. And Maud does not tolerate women who drink away their earnings. Drunkenness is another path that leads to being cast out. You have seen it happen. A girl named Joan, who had a laugh as loud as a tavern brawl, began to seek her comfort more and more in the gin pot. Her work grew sloppy, her debts to Maud mounted. One morning, after a particularly bad night, Maud simply threw her things into the muddy street and bolted the door. The other women watched from the window slit, silent and helpless, as Joan screamed and pounded on the door, until she finally collapsed in a drunken, weeping heap. She was gone the next day. No one knows what became of her. No one asks. You learn to be careful. You learn to hoard your pennies. You learn to nurse a single cup of ale for an entire evening. You learn to build your fortress of the mind stronger and stronger. But you know that every fortress has its breaking point. Every woman in this house lives with the fear that one day, the violence, the disease, or the simple grinding despair will finally become too much to bear. One afternoon, seeking a moment of peace, you walk along the south bank of the Thames. You watch the ferrymen skillfully navigate their wherries across the choppy water, carrying respectable citizens back and forth from London. You watch the great ships with their tall masts, bringing wine from France and wool from Flanders. They are symbols of a larger world, a world of commerce, of travel, of purpose. A world from which you are permanently excluded. You find a quiet spot, away from the stench of the tanneries and the noise of the bear pit. You reach into the secret pocket you have sewn into your shift, and you take out the small carved bird the scholar gave you. You hold it in your palm, its wooden form smooth and cool against your skin. You close your eyes, and you remember his sad, kind eyes. You remember the moment of shared humanity. It is a small, fragile memory, but it is yours. It is the one thing in this life that has not been bought or sold. You think of Agnes and her swollen face. You think of Elena and the rash she is trying to hide. You think of Joan lost to the streets. You are all just birds with broken wings, trapped in the bishop's grimy cage. A group of richly dressed merchants walks past you on the path. They laugh amongst themselves, speaking of profits and contracts. One of them glances at you, his eyes lingering on your striped hood. His gaze is not lustful. It is something else. It is the casual, unthinking dismissal of a man looking at an object that is no concern of his. You are a part of the landscape of sin, a feature of the Suffolk scenery, no more significant than a muddy puddle or a pile of refuse. You clutch the small bird in your hand so tightly its edges press into your skin. In this moment, you feel a surge of something that is not fear, not shame, not despair. It is a cold, hard, and unfamiliar feeling. It is rage, a quiet, deep, and utterly powerless rage. It is the rage of the voiceless, the rage of the invisible. It is the only thing, apart from the bird, that feels entirely your own. You open your hand and look at the bird again. It is a fragile, beautiful thing. But you know with a sudden chilling certainty that it will not be enough to save you. The rage you felt by the riverbank is a dangerous fire. It warms you for a moment, a flicker of defiance in the cold landscape of your life. But you know it is a flame that must be carefully banked. To let it burn openly would be to invite destruction, so you smother it, pushing it down into the cold, quiet fortress of your mind, where it settles into a hard, glowing ember. Days turn into weeks. The seasons begin to shift. The relentless damp of winter gives way to the muddy, sweet smells of a London spring. The air is still thick with coal smoke and filth, but there are new scents as well. The blossoms from the apple orchards south of the city, the faintest hint of green and growing things. For the respectable citizens of London, it is a time of renewal, of pilgrimage, of celebration. For you, it is simply a change in the character of your misery. The warmer weather brings its own challenges. The heat makes the stench of the streets and the river more potent. It brings swarms of flies that buzz in your small room. And it brings more clients. The roads are better, and more travellers. Merchants, pilgrims, soldiers pour into the city, all seeking an outlet for their appetites in the stew houses of Suffolk. The work becomes more relentless. The nights become longer. One evening, a woman in the house, a woman older than the rest named Marjorie, announces that she is leaving. She has saved for years a small secret hoard of coins. She has scraped and hoarded every extra halfpenny, every small gift from a generous client. It is a tiny fortune, but it is enough. Enough for a new start. Her plan is simple. She will travel to a different city, to York perhaps, or Bristol, where she is not known. She will use her savings to rent a small room and buy a loom. She will become a weaver, a respectable, anonymous artisan. She will trade her striped hood for the simple cap of a working woman. She will escape. Her departure is a major event in the house. It is a thing of legend, a story that will be told for years. Someone is getting out. It is a sliver of impossible hope for the others, and a source of deep, bitter jealousy. They help her pack her meager belongings. Their faces a mixture of genuine happiness for her and sharp-edged envy. You watch Marjorie as she prepares to leave. She looks different. The hard, weary lines on her face have softened. Her eyes, for the first time, hold a light that is not born of fear or calculation. It is hope. As she walks out the door for the last time, without her striped hood, she looks almost like one of the honest women she's trying to become. But you and the older women like Elena know the truth. The world outside the stew is not kind to women who are alone, with no family and no husband. A single woman with a small amount of money is a target for thieves, for swindlers, for men who will promise marriage only to take her savings and abandon her. The Guild of Weavers is a closed society, and they will not look kindly on an outsider trying to take their business. Her past is a brand not just on her hood, but on her soul, and it will follow her. But time is the most relentless client of all. It will take your youth piece by piece. You see your future in the faces of the older women in the house. You see the fine lines appearing around Elena's eyes, the slight sag of her jaw. You see the way the client's eyes now pass over her, seeking a younger, fresher face. You see the growing desperation in her performance, her laughter becoming a little too loud, her humor a little too coarse, as she fights to remain relevant, to earn her keep. When a woman's youth is gone, her value plummets. Maud will move her from the private rooms to the common hall, where she must service the poorest clients for a fraction of a penny. When she can no longer do even that, she will be given the most menial chores, emptying chamber pots, scrubbing floors, tending the fire you once so carefully guarded. She will become a ghost in the house, a wretched, unpaid servant, kept on only through Maud's cruel form of charity, a living cautionary tale for the younger girls. And when her body finally fails completely, when she's too old or too sick to even scrub the floors, she will be cast out. She will end her days as a beggar, her body racked with disease and her mind clouded with cheap gin, until she is found dead in an alley, her soul commended to the hell her priests always promised her. This is your future. There is no retirement. There is no escape. There is only the slow, grinding erosion of your body and your spirit, until there is nothing left. You clutch the small carved bird in your hand, its smooth wood a small solid truth in a world of lies. The scholar who gave it to you offered you a moment of humanity, but he too is part of the system that is destroying you. He will go on to become a respected theologian, a man of God. His brief, sad encounter with a prostitute in Suffolk, a secret, poetic memory he might one day write about. He will have a life of the mind, a life of the spirit. Your life is your body, and your body is a dwindling resource. One night, a new girl arrives. She is from the countryside, like you were. She is terrified, bewildered, her eyes wide with the shock of the city and the reality of the house. She cannot be more than 15. You see your own past self in her face. You see the same fear, the same fragile hope for something better that you once had. Maud gives her a new name, hands her a striped hood, and tells you to teach her the ways of the house. You take the girl to your small room. She is trembling. You do not tell her about the violence, the disease, the despair. You do not tell her about the slow, inevitable decay that awaits her. To tell her the truth would be to break her before she even begins. Instead, you teach her the performance. You teach her how to paint her face, how to laugh at a crude joke, how to feign pleasure. You teach her how to retreat into the fortress of her mind. You teach her how to survive. As you are showing her how to arrange her palette, she sees the small carved bird, which you have carelessly left on the floor. She picks it up. "It's beautiful," she whispers. You look at her, this child on the brink of a lifetime of horror, and you know what you must do. You keep it, you say, for luck. You press the bird into her hand. It is the only beautiful, true thing you own, and you are giving it away. It is an act of profound sacrifice, but it is also an act of defiance. You cannot escape your fate. You cannot save this girl from hers, but you can pass on a small symbol of a world beyond this one. You can give her the one thing that has kept you from completely unraveling. The memory of a single, unbought moment of kindness. She looks at you, her eyes filled with tears of gratitude. She does not understand the full weight of the gift, but she understands that it is an act of love. You have passed the torch. You have accepted your place in the grim lineage of this house. You are no longer just the victim, you are the survivor. and the survivor's sacred, terrible duty is to teach the next generation how to endure. You go downstairs to begin the night's work. You leave the girl in the room, clutching her small piece of luck. You put on your own striped hood. The painted mask settles onto your face. You are Eleanor, the merry strumpet. You are ready to perform. As you step into the common room, a client beckons you. You smile your practiced, empty smile. But tonight, something is different. The cold, quiet fortress in your mind is no longer empty. It is filled with a quiet, burning rage, and in the very center of it, you have carefully placed the memory of a gentle scholar, the fear in a young girl's eyes, and the impossible, heartbreaking beauty of giving away the only thing you have ever truly owned. You will not survive this life, not in the way the world understands survival. You will not escape, you will not find peace. But you have found a new kind of strength. It is the strength of the witness, the strength of the one who remembers. You will endure. You will bear witness to the truth of this life, to the suffering and the small, defiant acts of grace, and you will pass the story on. In a world that is determined to erase you, to render you invisible and voiceless, this quiet act of remembrance is the only victory you have, and it will have to be enough. The act of giving the bird to the new girl, whose name you learn is Beth, changes your role in the house. You have unconsciously accepted a new mantle, that of the veteran. The other younger girls, seeing your quiet competence and your lack of malice, begin to look to you. You become their unofficial protector, their confidant. You teach them the small, essential tricks of survival. How to stitch a tear so it is almost invisible. How to tell if a client is dangerously drunk, or just foolishly so. How to hide a few half-pennies from Maud's greedy eyes. This new role gives you a fragile sense of purpose, but it is also a heavy burden. You now carry not only your own fear, but theirs as well. When a girl comes back to the room weeping, her lips split by a careless blow, you are the one who cleans the wound. When a girl is overcome with a fit of despair, you are the one who sits with her in the darkness, whispering reassurances you do not believe yourself. You are the rock, and the weight of it is slowly grinding you down. Your relationship with the world outside the stew also grows more complex. You learn the intricate and corrupt dance between the brothels and the law. The Southwark stews operate under a specific set of ordinances, supposedly to maintain order and public health. You are forbidden from working on holy days. You are forbidden from leaving the Bankside district to solicit clients in the city proper. You are forbidden from touching or speaking to a man's wife. These rules are enforced by the city watch, brutish, underpaid men who see the stews as their own private treasury. They patrol the lanes of Bankside, not to keep the peace, but to extract their share of the profits. A blind eye can be bought for a penny. A trumped-up charge can be avoided with a free turn upstairs. You learn which watchmen are relatively harmless and which have a streak of real cruelty. You learn to read their moods, to offer a bit of bawdy humour or a mug of ale at the right moment to deflect their attention. It is a constant, low-level negotiation with a corrupt and unpredictable authority. One day you see this system in action. A wealthy merchant from the city is leaving the stew in the early hours of the morning, his fine cloak pulled up to hide his face. He is stopped by two watchmen. They accuse him of being out after curfew, of consorting with sinners. The merchant is indignant, threatening them with his powerful connections. But here, on your side of the river, his power is diminished. The watchmen are unimpressed. They relieve him of the heavy purse at his belt, calling it a fine for moral turpitude. They give him a rough shove and tell him to be on his way. The merchant, humiliated and lighter of purse, scurries away. The watchmen laugh, splitting the coins between them. They have just robbed a powerful man with impunity because his presence here makes him a fellow sinner, stripping him of his right to justice. You realize that the law is not a shield for the innocent. It is a weapon used by the powerful, and in the lawless liberty of Southwark, the men with the biggest cudgels are the law. Life settles into this brutal, monotonous rhythm. The nights are a blur of anonymous bodies and feigned passion. The days are a grey expanse of waiting, mending, and enduring. The small, secret acts of kindness between the women are the only moments of genuine light. You help Eleanor hide her sickness, which seems to be in a period of remission. You watch over Beth, the new girl, shielding her from the worst of the clients. You have built a fragile family in this hell, a community of the damned. Then, one hot afternoon in late summer, the rhythm is shattered. It begins not with a shout or a scream, but with a strange, unnatural silence. The usual cacophony of the London streets, the shouting vendors, the hammering craftsmen, the rumbling carts, seems to fade, replaced by a growing, expectant hush. people are stopping in the street, their faces turned upwards towards the sky. You and the other women come to the door of the stew, drawn by the strange quiet. You look up. The sun, a hazy white disk in the humid sky, is being eaten. A dark creeping shadow is beginning to consume its edge. An eclipse. Your modern mind understands what is happening. It is a predictable, natural alignment of celestial bodies. But to the people of 14th century London, this is not a natural event. It is a sign, a terrible omen, a visible manifestation of God's displeasure. As the shadow covers more of the sun, a collective gasp goes through the crowd. The world is plunged into an eerie, premature twilight. The air grows cold, birds fall silent. A primal fear, a terror that is older than civilization itself, grips the city. A man in the street, a wild-eyed friar, falls to his knees, his arms outstretched. The day of judgment is upon us, he screams, his voice cracking with terror. The sun is extinguished by our sins. Repent! Repent before the wrath of the Almighty consumes us all. His cry is a spark in a tinderbox of fear. The crowd, which seconds before was a collection of individuals, becomes a single entity, a mob. Panic erupts, people begin to run, to shout, to pray. The fear quickly curdles into a search for a scapegoat. Whose sins are so great that they have caused God to turn his face from the world? The friar, his eyes blazing with righteous fury, points a trembling finger across the river towards the south bank. He points directly at the district of the stews. The sodomites, he shrieks. The fornicators, the harlots of Babylon. Their sin has reached heaven and has put out the light. Cleanse the city of their filth. Purge the sin. The mob turns. 1,000 faces, contorted with fear and hatred, turn towards you. They begin to move towards London Bridge. They are coming for you, Maud screams. Bar the door, get inside. You and the other women scramble back into the stew, your hearts pounding with a new and terrifying kind of fear. This is not the targeted violence of a single client. This is the indiscriminate righteous fury of the mob. You bar the heavy oak door, you shutter the windows. The house is plunged into near total darkness. The only light, the faint, eerie glow of the eclipsed sun filtering through the cracks. The sounds from outside grow louder, a low rumble that builds into a terrifying roar. It is the sound of hundreds of running feet, of hundreds of voices joined in a single, hateful chant. Burn the stews, burn the harlots! You can hear them swarming through the lanes of Bankside. You hear the splintering of wood as they break down the doors of other houses. You hear the screams of women, sharp and quickly cut off. The mob reaches your house. They begin to pound on the door, the thick oak shuddering under the assault. Stones, bricks, and filth crash against the walls. The house feels like a small boat in a hurricane. You and the other women are huddled together in the center of the common room. You are no longer competitors. You are no longer individuals. You are a single trembling organism, united in absolute terror. Beth is weeping, her face buried in your dress. Elena is chanting a prayer in Italian, her rosary beads clicking frantically. Maud stands by the door, a heavy wood axe in her hands, her face pale but set in a mask of grim defiance. She will not give up her property without a fight. A heavy object, a battering ram improvised from a stolen beam, smashes against the door. The wood groans, splinters flying. The bar holding it is beginning to crack. This is a different kind of death. Not the slow, quiet death of disease or the lonely death of old age. This is a death by fire and righteous fury. You will be dragged out into the street, beaten, stoned, torn apart by the hands of the very same men who were your clients only last night. The hypocrisy is so vast, so absolute. It is almost a force of nature in itself. The door splinters again. A crack appears, and you can see the distorted faces outside, their mouths open in silent screams of hate, their eyes gleaming in the twilight of the eclipse. In this moment of ultimate terror, something inside you breaks. The fortress in your mind, the cold, quiet place where you have hidden yourself for so long, shatters. The rage you have so carefully banked explodes. You are no longer afraid. The fear is so great, so absolute, that it has burned itself out, leaving behind a strange, crystalline calm. You know you are going to die. And if you are going to die, you will not die cowering in the dark. You stand up. You walk through the huddled, weeping women. You take the axe from Maud's unresisting hands. Her face is a mask of shocked disbelief. You walk to the door. The wood is groaning, about to give way. You can hear the mob's roar, feel their hatred pressing in on you. You look back at the women, at Agnes, her bruises now a faint yellowing memory. At Elena, her face pale with her secret sickness. At Beth, the new girl, clutching the small wooden bird you gave her, her eyes wide with a terror that will shape the rest of her short life. You are their protector. You are their veteran. You turn back to the door. You take a deep breath, the air thick with the dust of splintered wood. You raise the axe. You are not Eleanor the Strumpet. You are not the girl from the country. You are a woman with nothing left to lose, and you are filled with a righteous, terrible, and beautiful fury. The door bursts open. The mob surges forward, a wave of hate and fear. You stand in the doorway, silhouetted against the dim light of the dying fire within. You raise the axe high, and you meet them with a scream that is not of fear, but of pure, undiluted rage. A scream that has been held back for a lifetime. A scream for Agnes, for Joan, for Marjorie, for Beth. A scream for every woman who has ever been used and shamed and broken in this house. A scream that is your final, desperate, and magnificent act of defiance. You will not die on your knees. You will die on your feet. You will die fighting. Your scream is not the sound of a victim. It is a raw, primal roar, torn from the deepest part of your soul. The sound of a cornered animal that has decided to attack. It is so unexpected, so filled with a fury that matches their own, that the front rank of the mob, the men who burst through the door, actually recoil for a split second. Their righteous momentum is checked by a vision they did not expect. Not a cowering, weeping harlot, but an avenging spirit, an axe-wielding fury framed in the doorway. That single second of hesitation is all you have. It is not a plan. It is pure, unthinking instinct. You do not swing the axe at a person. That would be suicide. And some part of you, deep beneath the rage, still clings to survival. You swing it at the doorframe. The heavy iron head bites deep into the wood that is already shattered. And with a great splintering crack, a large section of the frame gives way, bringing down a part of the wattle and daub wall with it in a cloud of dust, plaster, and dry rot. The collapse is just enough. It blocks the doorway for a crucial moment, creating a barrier of rubble and confusion. The men at the front are pushed from behind by the pressing weight of the mob, stumbling over the debris, their forward charge turned into a chaotic, tangled mess. It is Maud who seizes the opportunity. The riot has shocked her out of her cynical avarice and awakened the street fighter she once was. "The back!" she shrieks, her voice cutting through the din. "Through the kitchen!" Her words break the spell of terror that has frozen the other women. They scramble up, a frantic, desperate herd. You drop the axe and are swept along with them, your own rage already dissipating, replaced by the cold, sharp adrenaline of flight. You run through the common room, past the overturned tables and the dying hearth, and into the narrow, greasy confines of the kitchen. The back door of the kitchen opens onto a narrow, filth-strewn alley that leads towards the riverbank. Maud is already there, struggling with the heavy, rusted bolt. One of the men from the mob, more determined than the rest, has scrambled over the debris at the front and now appears in the kitchen doorway, his face contorted. Maud sees him, and without hesitation she grabs a heavy iron cooking pot from a hook and flings it at him. He ducks, and the pot crashes against the wall behind him. It is just enough of a distraction. Elena, your Italian friend, shoves you forward. "Go!" she screams, her usual quietness replaced by a fierce urgency. "Get Beth out!" You grab the hand of the new girl, Beth, who is almost paralyzed with fear, and pull her with you. Maud finally gets the bolt free, and the back door groans open. You spill out into the alley, into the eerie, unnatural twilight of the eclipse. Chaos reigns. The air is thick with smoke from torches and the smell of burning thatch. Other stews along the lane are already on fire, the flames casting a hellish, dancing light against the darkened sky. The roar of the mob is everywhere, a disorienting, terrifying sea of sound. You can hear the splintering of wood, the smashing of property, and the high, thin screams of women who were not as lucky as you. You do not know where to run. The way to the bridge is blocked by the main body of the mob. To run deeper into the warren of Suffolk's alleys is to risk getting trapped and cornered. "The river!" Maud yells, pointing towards the bank. "The ferrymen! They'll take anyone for a price. It is your only chance." You run, pulling Beth along, who stumbles and sobs beside you. You are a small, desperate group of fugitives. Maud, Elena, yourself, Beth, and 2 other women from the house. You burst out of the alley and onto the riverbank. The scene is one of pure pandemonium. People are running everywhere. Some are trying to douse the flames on their roofs with buckets of water. Others are simply trying to escape the mob. You see the ferrymen at their small docks, their wherries bobbing in the water. They are doing a brisk trade. They are taking coins from anyone, respectable merchants, panicked homeowners, and the painted, terrified women of the stews, to carry them to the relative safety of the North Bank. They are disaster profiteers, their faces grim and opportunistic in the twilight. Maud shoves past you, a small, heavy pouch of coins already in her hand. She begins to haggle fiercely with a ferryman, her voice a sharp commercial bark even in the midst of chaos. As you wait, your heart pounding, you see a group of men from the mob spot you. Their faces are illuminated by the light of a burning building, their expressions zealous and hateful. They point, and their shouts cut through the din.
Harlots there!
By the river! They begin to run towards you. Hurry! Elena screams at Maud. The ferryman, seeing the approaching mob and the glint of Maud's coins, makes a quick decision. He nods, and you all begin to clamber into his small, unstable boat. You are the last one in, shoving Beth ahead of you. As you tumble into the wherry, you feel a hand grab the back of your dress. One of the men from the mob has reached you. His fingers dig into the coarse fabric. You feel a searing pain as he yanks you backward, trying to pull you from the boat. For a second, you are suspended between two worlds, the relative safety of the river and the certainty of being torn apart on the bank. Then, a flash of movement. Maud, already in the boat, leans over and smashes the heavy wooden oar into the man's face. There is a wet, crunching sound, and he stumbles back, his hands flying to his ruined nose, blood pouring through his fingers. The ferryman shoves off from the dock with a powerful push, and the small boat lurches out into the current of the Thames. You are safe, you are afloat. You look back at the south bank. It is a vision of hell. The stews are burning, sending thick plumes of black smoke into the eerie, dark sky. The mob is a dark, writhing mass of humanity, their shouts and curses carrying faintly over the water. You have escaped, but you have escaped from the only home you have ever known. You are all huddled in the bottom of the wherry, a collection of refugees. Beth is shaking uncontrollably. Elena is still whispering her prayers, her eyes closed tight. Maud is staring back at her burning business, her face a stone mask. But you see a single tear trace a path through the grime on her cheek. She has lost everything. You look down at yourself. Your dress is torn. You are covered in filth and splinters. Your hands are scraped raw, but you are alive. The quiet, powerless rage that has been your secret companion has been replaced by a wild, terrifying, and exhilarating feeling. The feeling of survival. The eclipse is beginning to pass. A sliver of the sun's brilliant light reappears, cutting through the twilight. The natural order of the world is reasserting itself. As the light returns, the fury of the mob on the far bank seems to falter. They look up at the returning sun, confused, as if waking from a trance. The divine anger has passed. They are no longer a holy army. They are just a crowd of frightened, foolish people who have burned down their own city's playground. They begin to disperse, melting back into the lanes and alleys, leaving behind the smouldering ruins. The ferryman brings you to the north bank, to a muddy landing near the Tower of London. You clamber out onto the shore of the city proper. You are in the world of the honest folk now, but you have no home, no money, and no protection. Maud pays the ferryman with the last of her coins. She looks at the small group of women she has left. "It's over," she says, her voice hollow. "The stews are gone. The bishop will close the bankside for months to rebuild. There is no work for us here." She looks at each of you in turn. The usual hardness in her eyes is gone, replaced by a weary resignation. "You are on your own now," she says. "It is not a threat, it is a statement of fact. The business relationship is dissolved. The fragile, abusive structure that defined your lives has been burned to the ground." She turns and walks away, disappearing into the crowded streets of London, a ruined woman with nothing but the clothes on her back. You are left on the riverbank, a small, desperate band of survivors. You, Elena, Beth, and the two other women. The law of the city is clear. Unattached women with no family, no master, and no means of support are considered vagrants. Prostitutes caught operating north of the river are to be arrested, shorn of their hair, and paraded through the streets in shame before being thrown in prison or banished from the city. You are illegal here. Your very existence is a crime. Elena, her face pale, begins to cough, a deep, racking cough that speaks of her hidden illness, now aggravated by the smoke and the terror. Beth is still clutching the small wooden bird, her only possession in the world. What do you do now? Where do you go? The city of London, with its great churches and powerful guilds, is a fortress, and you are outside its walls. You are the veteran now, not just of the house, but of the fire, of the escape. The others look to you. Your rage in the doorway, your act of defiance has made you their unwilling leader. You look at their terrified, lost faces. You look at the great, uncaring city before you. The cold ember of rage inside you begins to glow again. But it is a different kind of rage now. It is not the hot, explosive rage of defiance. It is a cold, hard, practical rage, a survivor's rage. You will not let them be arrested. You will not let them starve. You will not let Elena die in a ditch. You will not let Beth's future be the one you were destined for. Come, you say, your voice steadier than you thought possible. We need to find a place to hide. An abandoned cellar, a stable, anywhere, just until dark. You pull the remnants of your torn dress around you, trying to look as inconspicuous as possible. You tell the other women to do the same, to hide any sign of their trade. You are no longer Winchester geese. You are simply women, poor, desperate, but alive. You lead them into the labyrinth of London's streets. Every passing glance from a citizen is a potential threat. Every shout from a watchman makes your heart leap. You are fugitives in a hostile land. The escape from the stew was not the end of the story. It was the end of a chapter. The end of the only life you knew. You have been burned out of your cage, but the wilderness you have been thrown into is larger, colder, and filled with different, more sophisticated predators. Your survival no longer depends on enduring the familiar brutalities of the brothel. It now depends on your wits, your courage, and your ability to navigate a world that wants to crush you. The night is coming, and for the first time in your life, you have no roof to sleep under and no master to answer to. You are terrifyingly, dangerously, and absolutely free. Freedom is a terrifying thing. In the stew, your life was a known quantity, a circle of familiar brutalities. Now, cast adrift in the vast, indifferent city of London, you are faced with an ocean of unknown dangers and terrifying choices. As the leader of this small, desperate flock, your mind works with a clarity born of pure necessity. The immediate needs are shelter and invisibility. You lead your group away from the main thoroughfares, into the city's stinking labyrinthine back alleys. This is a world you understand. The architecture is different, but the smells of poverty and desperation are the same. Here, among the rat catchers, the beggars, and the petty thieves, you are less conspicuous. You find what you are looking for behind a large bakery. A collapsed section of an old Roman wall has created a small sheltered alcove hidden from the main laneway by a pile of discarded barrels. The air within smells of sour earth and damp stone, but it is out of sight. It is a temporary refuge. We stay here until full dark, you say, your voice a low command. No one speaks. No one moves from this spot. The women huddle together in the small space. The adrenaline of the escape has worn off, replaced by a profound bone-deep exhaustion and the tremors of shock. Eleanor's coughing has subsided into a shallow, wheezing breath. Beth has not let go of the small wooden bird, clutching it in her hand as if it were a holy relic. As the hours pass and the sky darkens, you assess your situation. You have nothing. The few pennies you earned were left behind in the burning house. You have only the torn, filthy clothes on your back. You are 5 women, alone, with no skills that are welcome in this honest world. Your only marketable skill is the very one that will get you arrested here. You know you cannot stay in London. The city watch is efficient, and unattached women are quickly noticed, reported, and dealt with. To remain is to guarantee a future in the stocks or the dreaded Fleet prison. You must leave the city, but to where? The countryside is no safer. A lone woman on the road is prey for every brigand and lustful traveller. A group of 5 women is a spectacle, an invitation for trouble. As darkness falls completely, the city changes. The respectable folk bolt their doors. The streets are left to the watch, the drunks, and the denizens of the night. It is a world you know, but you are now on the wrong side of the door. A decision crystallizes in your mind, cold and hard. You cannot run from what you are. You can only change the terms of the trade. You turn to Eleanor. Your sickness, you say quietly. Is it in your lungs? She looks at you, her dark eyes filled with a weary resignation. She nods. It has been for some time. The smoke, the damp, it grows worse. You know what this means. It is consumption, a slow, inevitable death sentence. But it is not the pox. It is not contagious in the way that would make her an immediate pariah. The rest of you, you say to the other 3 women, Beth included. You are strong. You are young. You look at your own hands, scraped and bruised. We have one currency left, the one they taught us to use. The women stare at you, their faces pale in the gloom. Places that take in the sick, the dying. Places with gardens, with clean air. It is a slim hope, a story you have heard whispered, but it is better than the alternative of her dying in an alley. We will get you there. We will earn the money to buy you a place at their door. You have given them a purpose beyond mere survival. You have given them a mission, to save one of their own. It is a desperate gamble, but it is enough to ignite a flicker of hope in their exhausted eyes. That night you begin. You are the leader, the strategist. You choose the location, a dark but well-trafficked lane near the docks, a place where foreign sailors with full purses and few questions are plentiful. You set the rules. No one goes off alone. A price is agreed upon beforehand. The money is brought to you immediately. You send Beth out first. She is the youngest, the freshest, the most valuable lure. You and the other 2 women hide in a nearby doorway, your hands clutching rocks you have picked up from the street. You watch as a Genoese sailor, reeking of wine, approaches her. You watch the clumsy negotiation. You see her lead him into a dark alcove. The minutes that follow are the longest of your life. You listen, every muscle tense for any sound of a struggle, for any cry of pain. You are ready to rush out, to fight, to create a distraction. But the cry does not come. A few minutes later, Beth emerges from the alcove, her face pale but unharmed. The sailor stumbles out after her and continues on his way down the lane. Beth comes to you, her hand trembling as she gives you the 2 coins she was paid. She has done it. The plan has worked. One by one, the other women take their turns. You manage the rotation, you stand guard, you are the sentinel. You do not take a client yourself. Your role has changed. You are the general of this small, desperate army. Your mind, not your body, is now your primary tool. By the time dawn approaches, you have a small, precious hoard of coins. It is more money than you have ever held in your life. It is enough for bread, for cheese, and for a bribe to a stable master to let you sleep in the hayloft of his stables for a few hours, out of sight of the morning watch. As you huddle together in the warm, sweet-smelling hay, a feeling of fierce, triumphant pride swells in your chest. You have survived a night on your own terms. You have not just been a victim, you have been an agent of your own fate. You have taken the brutal system that was designed to exploit and destroy you, and you have bent its rules to your own purpose. The days that follow are a blur of this new, terrifying routine. You are constantly moving, never staying in one place for more than a night. You learn the geography of the city's underworld. You learn which watchmen can be bribed, and which are too pious or too dangerous to approach. You learn to read the intentions of a man in a single glance. Elena grows weaker. Her cough is a constant, painful presence, but the small hoard of coins is growing. The dream of the convent, of a place of peace for her, is what drives you all. It is the story you tell each other in the darkness. The abbess studies your face for a long time. She is no fool. She knows what you are, what your coins are. She sees the desperation and the fierce, protective love in your eyes. She sees the story you are not telling. She hesitates. Then she gives a slow, deliberate nod. "The Lord's mercy is open to all who seek it," she says. "Bring your sister to us." You say your goodbyes to Elena at the convent gate. It is a wrenching, tearful farewell. She is leaving the only family she has, but she is going to a place of peace. A place where she can die with a measure of dignity, away from the filth and brutality of the life you have known. As the great wooden gates of the convent close behind her, you are left with the other 3 women, including Beth. Your mission is complete, but a new question hangs in the air. What now? You could part ways. Each woman could take her share of the remaining coins and try to make her own way in the world, like Marjorie did. But you look at their faces, and you know they will not survive alone. And you realize, with a deep and unsettling certainty, that you do not want to be alone either. You have become something more than just survivors. You have become a pack, a family. "Come," you say, turning your back on the convent and on the distant, smoky haze of London. There are other cities, other places. You do not know where you are going. You have no grand plan. You are simply walking away from the past. You are walking into an unknown future. Your life will never be easy. You will always be an outcast, a woman living on the margins of society. The dangers will be constant, but you will no longer face them alone, and you will no longer face them as a victim. You look at Beth, walking beside you. She is still clutching the small wooden bird. You think of the scholar who gave it to you, the man from a world of books and privilege. He would never understand the journey that small piece of wood has taken. He would never understand the woman you have become. You are not a harlot. You are not a sinner. You are not a victim. You are a survivor. You are a leader. You are a woman who stood in a burning doorway with an axe in her hand and did not flinch. You are a woman who built a family from the broken pieces of other women's lives. The road ahead is long and uncertain, but for the first time in your memory, you feel the warmth of the sun on your face, not as a threat, but as a promise. The future is a blank page, and for the first time, you feel you have the strength to write your own story upon it.